Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up. Star Trek: Strange New Worlds' executive producers and co-showrunners confirm which iconic Star Trek, the original series, character won't appear in the prequel series. Star Trek: Strange New Worlds Season 3 has wrapped on Paramount+, with Season 4 on the way, and production starting on the fifth and final season. Star Trek: Strange New Worlds Season 3 ended by setting up the friendship between Lieutenant Commander James T. Kirk Paul Wesley and Lieutenant Spock Ethan Peck, a pivotal step towards the prequel's endgame of connecting to Star Trek, the original series. Trek Movie interviewed Star Trek: Strange New Worlds executive producers and co-showrunners Akiva Goldsman and Henry Alonso Myers about the end of Season 3. Although Myers and Goldsman said they cannot confirm or deny if Mr. Sulu or Dr. Leonard M.C. Coy would be introduced in Strange New Worlds Seasons 4 or 5, they did confirm who would not appear. Read their quotes below. Originated by Walter Koenig and played by the late Anton Yelchin in J.J. Abrams' alternate reality set Star Trek movies, Pavel Chekhov is in his mid-teens in Star Trek: Strange New Worlds time frame. Chekhov would likely be at Starfleet Academy during Star Trek: Strange New Worlds Seasons 4 or 5. Hence, Akiva Goldsman and Henry Alonso Myers' assessment that Chekhov appearing in Star Trek: Strange New Worlds doesn't make any sense. Pavel Chekhov is a fresh-faced, 22-year-old ensign when he debuts in Star Trek, the original series Season 2, which takes place in 2267 to 2268. Star Trek: Strange New Worlds Season 3 happens in 2261, and the final two seasons should bring the show up to 2265. No Chekhov in Star Trek: Strange New Worlds is logical, but it's also possible this just means that Strange New Worlds won't recast and introduce Chekhov like they have other members of Captain Kirk's USS Enterprise crew in the prequel series. Perhaps when Star Trek: Strange New Worlds ends with Season 5, there may be a montage or some acknowledgement of Star Trek, the original series, that could include a glimpse of Ensign Pavel Chekhov. The Star Trek universe thrives on legacy. Over the decades, the franchise has masterfully blended nostalgia with bold storytelling, bridging the past and future with surprising crossovers, canon twists, and reinventions of iconic characters. With Strange New Worlds SNW embracing its prequel identity, it has already reintroduced familiar faces like Spock, Uhura, Chapel, and even James T. Kirk. However, not every original series TOS character can, or should, make the leap into this newer narrative. In fact, there's one beloved TOS figure whose absence seems almost inevitable, if not necessary. Pavel Chekhov, SNW, is firmly set in the 2250s, years before the events of TOS. Chekhov, the enthusiastic young ensign introduced in TOS Season 2, wouldn't canonically be aboard the Enterprise yet. His arrival was deliberately staged later in the timeline, symbolizing the Federation's expanding diversity and the growing youth movement of the 23rd century. To shoehorn him into Pike's crew would not only break continuity, but risk undermining the symbolic purpose of his debut. Unlike Kirk or Spock, characters whose stories clearly span these years, Chekhov has no canonical reason to be part of the Enterprise during Pike's command. His absence isn't a snub, but rather a storytelling necessity that preserves the integrity of the timeline. When Chekhov appeared in 1967, he was more than just comic relief with a thick Russian accent. At the height of the Cold War, his presence on the bridge sent a profound cultural message. In the utopian vision of the Federation, humanity had moved beyond nationalism, Cold War rivalries, and the divisions of the 20th century. Having a Russian ensign on the flagship of the Federation was Gene Roddenberry's quiet but radical declaration of global unity. Chekhov also symbolized youth. He was young, impulsive, and eager to prove himself, a sharp contrast to the more seasoned crew. This balance added fresh energy to the ensemble, appealing directly to younger viewers at the time. His Beatles-esque haircut wasn't an accident. It was part of a conscious effort to attract the 1960s youth audience. Bringing him into SNW prematurely would rob his character of that historical context and diminish the deliberate timing of his TOS debut. Another reason Chekhov will likely remain absent from SNW is more emotional than canonical. The tragic death of Anton Yelchin in 2016 left an indelible mark on Star Trek fandom. Yelchin's portrayal in the Kelvin timeline movies made Chekhov more endearing than ever, infusing him with humor, heart, and humanity. Following his death, J.J. Abrams announced that Chekhov would not be recast in future films, a decision met with widespread respect. That sentiment has extended into the larger franchise. While other TOS characters have been recast for SNW without issue, Chekhov carries a unique emotional weight. Reintroducing him in live action could feel insensitive or opportunistic, reopening wounds that still linger for many fans. SNW thrives because it doesn't attempt to cram every familiar face into its narrative. Instead, it's selective, choosing characters whose arcs organically fit within the prequel structure. Spock was a natural inclusion, given his established service under Pike. Uhura's cadet years offer a believable pathway for her development. Chapel and M'Bengo were already loosely tied to this era, making their presence natural expansions rather than retcons. Chekhov doesn't fit that pattern. His youth, his historical significance, and his symbolic entrance into the franchise all argue against his presence in SNW. The writers have wisely resisted fan service for fan service's sake, and Chekhov's absence reflects that discipline. That said, Star Trek is never absolute. While Chekhov won't likely appear as a bridge officer on Pike's Enterprise, there are other creative possibilities for honoring his character without undermining canon or Anton Yelchin's legacy. References only. SNW could drop subtle nods to a young Pavel Chekhov somewhere in Starfleet Academy, reinforcing that he exists but is still years away from serving aboard the Enterprise. Family cameos. The show could introduce a relative, much like how it has referenced other legacy characters through family connections. This would allow a respectful nod without a direct recasting. Animated mediums. Lower Decks or Prodigy might be more flexible places to revisit Chekhov, where voice acting and stylized animation soften the sensitivity of recasting. Walter Koenig himself has reprised the role in voiceover projects, offering fans a way to celebrate the character without awkward live-action transitions. Historical mentions. Just as SNW has explored the legacies of future events, it could allude to Chekhov's eventual contributions to Starfleet, acknowledging his importance without forcing him on screen. Star Trek's greatest strength has always been its ability to move forward while honoring its past. SNW captures this balance beautifully. It offers fans the thrill of seeing young versions of beloved characters while still introducing fresh faces like Lon Noonien Singh, Hemmer, and Pelia. This blend keeps the franchise from feeling like a hollow remake. Chekhov's absence, then, is not a loss. It's a testament to the show's commitment to storytelling integrity. By not bending canon or exploiting sentiment, SNW allows other characters to shine while preserving the unique role Chekhov played in the history of Star Trek. Chekhov's legacy reminds us that Star Trek is more than just ships and phasers. It's about cultural progress and representation. His introduction in the 1960s was a bold statement about peace in a divided world. His portrayal by Anton Yelchin in the 2000s carried that spirit into a new century, showing that optimism, humor, and courage remain timeless values. By leaving Chekhov out of SNW, the franchise protects that legacy. It ensures his eventual entrance into Star Trek history remains meaningful, tied to the specific cultural and narrative moment that made him special. Not every character needs to be everywhere. Sometimes restraint is the most respectful choice. In a universe as vast as Star Trek, it's tempting to want every familiar face to reappear in every iteration. But SNW has wisely chosen not to force Chekhov into its story. His absence honors both the timeline and the memory of Anton Yelchin, while allowing the character to remain a symbol of hope, unity, and youthful optimism for future generations. So, while we may never see Chekhov walking the halls of Pike's Enterprise, his spirit continues to resonate throughout the franchise. In Star Trek, legacies don't always require screen time. They live on in the ideals, themes, and vision that the show carries forward. And in that way, Chekhov will always be present, even if he never sets foot on strange new worlds. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay with us.